Photorealism refers to the method of taking photographs and precisely replicating them onto canvas by an artist. One artist, Chuck Close, took photorealism to another level with his endless portraits using this method. In his prime years of art creation, however, he sustained a serious brain injury. This impaired him and left a lasting impression on his art after he endured this severe condition. Interest in his art grows with time, but his story surpasses the brilliance of his artwork. So here's a little bit about his history. He was born in Washington State, um, and let's see, born in 1940, and attended the University of Washington in Seattle. And after going to the University of Washington, getting his Bachelor of Arts degree, he went straight to Yale right after and studied there for 2 years. And at his time in Yale, that's what really gave him his inspiration for his pieces later on in his life. At his time in Yale, he really um, refined what it meant to be Chuck Close. So now, after Yale, he studied abroad. He went over to Europe. He got scholarship money to study over there. And then eventually he came back and started teaching at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. And at that school, he started experimenting with abstract expressionism. This didn't really work out for Chuck Close. He didn't really sell too many paintings. So he had to adapt. And at that time, process art was very popular. So that had some of an effect on Chuck Close's art. So at the University of Massachusetts, he had some problems and he had to uh, leave. So he took another job at the School of Visual Arts in NYC. And then that's where he really ironed out his new method of his work, um, which his new method was taking pictures and then making grids on the pictures and then painting within the squares in the grids. So here's one of his first works where he used this method, and it's called The Big Nude. And that's because it's a picture of a nude woman laying down. And he used this kind of method for this painting, even though it's not his typical painting of a portrait. Um, but yes. So this this work, this specific one, was where he really tested out and ironed out exactly what he wanted to do with this kind of method. And then he moved on to do his own self portrait, which he called Big Self Portrait because his paintings were much larger than normal portraits. He did them big because with his method of painting the squares, if you look at it really closely, it's not going to look the same as if you look at it far away. So he wanted it to be really big, so you have to stand really far away so that you could see the real precision of his painting. So, as you can see, this is the first artwork in a museum for him. It was at the Walker Art Museum. And when it got in the museum, it had kind of a ripple effect within the art culture. So, art at the time, the art world didn't really see photographs as art, they just saw it as photographs. So, with this photorealism movement, it really showed that photographs can have an art form and can be respected in the art world as a piece of art. So this was kind of a transition, these photorealistic paintings like Big Self Portrait, because it itself, it was based on a picture that looked exactly like that. So in the art world, they thought, oh, well, the picture looked exactly like that. So why isn't that considered art too? So even though it's not seen as much now, this painting had a big impact on the art world back then. So in this way, Chuck Close gave photographs a function of art, and I believe that those two functions are art for persuasion and art for self-expression. So first, for art for persuasion, he's trying to persuade the art world that photographs are an art form, and he's just doing this in a way that he's painting the photograph, showing, oh wow, this is beautiful, but oh, you can look at and see the same thing as a picture that he took. You know, there's a picture out there that's just a photograph of him, and it's the same exact thing. So that's his art for persuasion, art for self-expression. He has a cigarette in his mouth. He has his shirt off, glasses on. He's expressing, that's how I am. That's how I am on a regular basis. This is how I want the world to see me. And now his early work, which includes Big Self-Portrait, precedes a new era of what Close's art was to be about. And this was after the event. Now he describes the event as like he had really bad chest pains, which led to his being paralyzed. And um, this really led to a new definition of what Chuck Close art was. So he had, after the event, he had to rehabilitate. And by the way, I'm calling it the event because that's what he called it. He called it the event when he had all these chest pains. But anyway, after the event, he had to go through rehabilitation, a lot of physical therapy, and his wife suggested to the physical therapist that he should incorporate art into his physical therapy. So as he did the movements of painting, that's when he regained ability to move his arms. So really, painting helped him through his uh, physical ailments, his impairment. And now, as you can see on this slide, you can see that painting, that is Alex 2. Now, before his accident, he painted Alex, which was the same person, the same picture, but he did it in a different way for Alex 2. So as you can see, the picture on the right is, as you can see, I have my mouse right here. This is a close-up view of just about right here, like his eye, his left eye from his point of view. And as you can see, it's just made of a bunch of shapes with so many different colors. Now, that's so different from what we see in earlier Chuck Close paintings, where it's very precise, very accurate, looks just like the picture. This one is so different. It has so many different colors that come together. It's not precise, and he relies on illusionistic imagery. Now I'm going to move on to another one of his pictures, or another one of his paintings from after the event. And as you can see, it's just so many different colors and shapes, and he really relies on the viewer's eyes to do most of the work. So he puts all these shapes on the painting, on the canvas, and allows the artist, or allows the observer, to put together that that's a face. He's really implying a face there. So it's really up to the observer to make sense of it. And he uses, so some of the elements, he uses curved lines, a bunch of different shapes to imply the human face. And all those little grids are an element because they really shape the painting, give it structure. And that's a big element for him. Another one of the elements in this painting is color, because if you zoom in, you can see so many different colors that usually wouldn't be on a human face. And he brings them all together to put them on this face and really create an implied face. Um, Thank you for your time. Really enjoying this class. Thank you. Goodbye.